Welcome back. Now, government has officially declared a national disaster following severe weather conditions in parts of the country. Heavy rains have caused severe flooding, which has damaged homes and infrastructure. Now, the Co-operative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa has welcomed the classification of a national disaster, and dozens of people have died in the floods that have damaged homes and infrastructure. The death toll in Limpopo and Mpumalanga now stands at 31. But for more about this national disaster declaration, we're joined by the head of the National Disaster Management Center, Dr. Elias Sithole. Dr. Sithole, thanks for your time and welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Dr. Sithole, now this declaration of a national disaster, if you can just take us through what that means exactly, how this is different from a state of emergency declaration, and of course, why government thought it fit to move over to this.
Thank you very much. Good morning to the viewers as well. Yes, the classification for the national state of disaster, it is an important step in terms of dealing with disasters. Normally, when we go the route of classification, we look in terms of the extent of the damage which has been experienced in that particular area. After we do an assessment, then we discovered that municipality and the province will need some assistance in terms of repairing those infrastructure. Those assistance could be in the form of financial assistance. Then we go the route of classification, and classification allows municipalities to reprioritize their budget. It allows provincial government to reprioritize their budget, but also it allows the other departments also to do the same, but also it gives us an opportunity to allocate money to that affected municipality. If we don't have enough money, it gives us an opportunity to approach treasury.
So what is the current assessment, Dr. Sithole, of the damage caused by the floods that we saw last week and continuing into this, and also the death toll? Are you able to give us the latest update in that regard?
Yeah, in terms of the damages, even though some of the areas are not accessible as we speak, because they're still flooded, there's still water in those areas. But preliminary assessment, we've done it. We got an indication in terms of these damages, they run into billions. But also, because some of the areas, we can't easily access them and it's still raining in other areas. And then the death toll, it changes all the time, because as and when we continue doing the rescue missions, we rescue some other people and then there are new discoveries and so on. So I would say the death toll, it will fluctuate based on our teams as and when they go and then assess those areas, and then there might be some changes on the figures.
So what additional powers does declaring a state of disaster afford the executive?
It affords the executive in terms of the coordination. So which means because it is a national disaster, classified as a national disaster, it allows our minister now to coordinate countrywide this kind of responses, but also it allows us now to intervene in the space of the municipality. But also the kind of coordination which is being done at national level, it allowed the provinces and the municipalities to tap into the resources of the national government, so that if there's any gaps which they would have identified, they're able to come to national and indicate to say they need additional resources in the space.
And what sort of safeguards would there be, especially to ensure transparency, one, in the decision-making processes moving forward?
Yeah, we've learned a lot from previous disasters in previous years, where decisions have been made, but only to find that we're not transparent enough, and then we end up creating a perception from the communities. So in this time around, over years, we're able to, through these structures, to bring everybody on board. Whatever money is being communicated or is being transferred to the municipalities, the communities, they know which projects or how much is going to be allocated in the particular municipality. The minister sometimes, he called the media briefing and then indicate to the communities to say municipality X has been giving X amount of money. So there is a kind of transparency, but also each and every project which has been completed, you are able to report back to the communities through the municipality structures to say the project was, this infrastructure was affected by a disaster. Now it has been repaired, concluded, and X amount of money was spent in the space. So our process is above the board, is transparent.
And that's precisely why I asked that question in the manner that I did, Dr. Sithole, because often when you have a disaster, state of disaster declared, there's also a relaxation of procurement rules. And this is where in the past we've seen communities complain about abuse in this regard.
Yeah, actually, we are no longer tolerating any corruption in the space of disaster management. We've learned from previous disasters where money was allocated and only to find that either the project, they are incomplete or those projects were never even conducted. This time around, we've said the past three years, we are no longer going to tolerate any corruption in the space of disaster management. Any money which is allocated to the municipality, the municipal managers and the leadership of the municipality, they have to account to each and every cent. And then we have teams which we deploy and work with the municipalities, the teams of engineers. If there's a breach on the road, we will have the engineers completely independent and where they go and do an assessment to see this project. If that money was allocated, it equal to the money which was allocated to the project. So we are very strict now. We work very close with Treasury as well. So we are making sure that we don't want any loopholes in that kind of a space.
And Dr. Sithole, with regard to emergency measures being implemented for affected communities as we speak, are you able to just update us on those, please?
Yeah, because some of the low-lying bridges, sometimes if it rains, they are overflowing. We make sure that we close those bridges so that we prevent the communities not to be washed away or swept off when they're crossing those bridges. But also, we now and then we have got our teams on the ground where they can advise the community if their areas are going to be flooded, and then we're able to relocate those communities into the safer place. We know that it's a schooling time. We are working very close with the Department of Education to make sure that the children who are going to school are very safe. So those kind of mechanism we are actually we've put in place to make sure that our communities are safe.
And as we start to wrap, Dr. Sithole, for how long does a state of disaster legally remain in place?
Yeah, the classification remains as long as the problem stands or the problem is there, the classification will always be there, it will still stand. Once the problem is resolved, then we can revoke the classification, which means as the municipalities and the provinces, they are busy doing the assessment and are going to rebuild infrastructure and so forth, the classification is going to stand up to the point where we see that everything now has been resolved or everything can be managed outside of the classification, then we can revoke the classification.
Thank you so much, Dr. Elias Sithole. And no doubt we'll follow up with you again, head of the National Disaster Management Center, speaking about government's decision to officially declare a national disaster in the parts of the country that have been affected by the flooding that we saw last week and going into this.